After finishing my Disney animated films ranking videos last year, it was time to do another ranking video, this time on Pixar. Yep, this may come to no one's shock that I was going to do my ranking of every Pixar films. Pixar, like Disney, is one of the most pioneered in the animation genre. So, like my ranking of Disney films, I'm going to rank the Pixar films and short reviews on them as much as I can. So, let us begin. Toy Story, the first Pixar movie that ever started. This movie came out at a great timing because it came out the same year I was born, 1995. So when I was little, I did watch it. My opinions have slightly changed during the years, but man, it holds up very well. And keep in mind, this is the first CGI animated movie. It's quite an accomplishment. Everything in the movie is fantastic. The characters, the humor, and the greatest strength in the movie is the writing. It has a great setup, and even the simplicity of it. I know the idea of toys coming to life is nothing new, but it was a new spin on it. The animation does hold up pretty well, even by 1995 standards. The only nitpick in the movie is the human design and even Sid's dog. Yeah, it doesn't look good, but I have to give credit where credit is due that it is the first CGI anime movie on them. But other than that, the first Toy Story is truly a masterpiece. And while it was a favorite of mine during the years, it's not my favorite Pixar movie as of today. But man, it's still great. Definitely putting it in the amazing category. A Bug's Life, another movie I watched when I was a kid. I remember watching it a few times, but when I got older, the more I get shafted by other Pixar movies. And yeah, it's because the movie was the second in the lineup. My opinions changed a lot during the years, but I still like it. It is underrated. As a follow-up to Toy Story, it's not strong. There are a few problems with the movie. Some of the characters aren't memorable, but they're okay. The plot is not simple, it's pretty complicated. I'm also pretty mixed on the scene where Flick lied to the colonies that the bugs are not warriors, they're circus bugs. I'm mixed of the whole lie reveal cliche because other movies do that. There are a few highlights in the movie. The animation is bright and colorful, nothing to change. And the other one are the circus bugs. They are enjoyable and very funny. So yeah, A Bug's Life has changed a lot during the years, but it's not as strong as Toy Story. I'm gonna put it in the okay category, and I think that definitely belongs there. Toy Story 2. Here we go. A sequel that was definitely worth it. In fact, it's actually better than the first one, and probably my favorite out of the Toy Story movies. Yeah, my opinion changed a lot when I was an adult. Some of the new characters are enjoyable. Jesse's backstory is the most emotional scene in the movie. I love that. Even the dilemma of Woody has to go through, it's a great one. But yeah, the sequel is better. Great characters, great comedy, great drama, great writing, and even the animation is improved better. Definitely putting it in the amazing category and putting it above the first one. Monsters Inc. This movie is memorable and cute. Okay, I'm not going to say I love Monsters Inc., but I still like Monsters Inc. to this day. It's better than its prequel, but it won't top the first two Toy Story movies. I'll start with the criticisms. The plot with the evil plan stuff is complicated, and yeah, I didn't know what was going on. The villains are pretty weak. I wish they were evil, though the designs look kind of fun. There are a few good highlights. The voice acting, since you have good casting like Billy Crystal and John Goodman. The setup is very creative. The climax, which is fun. And I like that Boo interacts with Sully. I know people find Boo annoying. I mean, yeah, but Sully is there to get along with her. Some of the animation is good, like the textures on Sully's fur. That's great detail. So yeah, it's a cute movie, but at least I remembered more. I'm gonna put it in the good category, just to save room for other Pixar movies. Finding Nemo. This movie was pretty hyped back in 2003, and I know I didn't talk about it during the 20th anniversary last year. Well, it's finally time to do a short review of Finding Nemo. It's solid, not amazing. It was going to be in my top Pixar favorites, but more Pixar movies keep pushing this movie off. I still think it's really good after all these years. It's got solid story and solid characters. I mean, people have to like Dory with her short-term memory loss. I like the world that's underwater and has really pretty visuals. Another highlight in the movie, besides some I mentioned, is a lesson. While it is hammered it a bit, it's a good lesson for adults. Yeah, I give kudos to the anime movie that the lesson is for adults and always for kids. Easily a great one, and definitely belongs in that category. Not quite amazing, but it's still great. The Incredibles. My opinions on this movie changed a lot when I got older. As a kid, I didn't get into it much, but by the time I was an adult, I liked it a lot now. And no, it's not my favorite Pixar movie, but it was a fun superhero family film. First off, Brad Bird was a great choice to work on since he worked on other projects, and the idea of a superhero family, that's a great one. Another one that changed after watching it years, and that's Mr. Incredible's midlife crisis. He's actually pretty relatable as an adult. Maybe that's why I didn't get into it as a kid, but as an adult, I did. Also, this is the first Pixar movie focusing on humans more, and I like how Brad Bird drew them and made them into 3D models. So yeah, the stuff with the characters, the drama, and even the superhero in the last third of the movie are great. The only issue is I wanted more focus on the family. I feel like Mr. Incredible gave it a little too focused, but either way, I enjoyed it as an adult. Definitely a good one from Pixar. I'm gonna put it in the great category. Cars. Yeah, this movie is middle of the road, no pun intended. So when it came out, I did like it, but when I got older, I find it a bit underwhelming. Plus, it came out in 2006. No shocker there. Okay, so what I didn't like about Cars. I don't like the idea of having characters turn into cars. The jokes just wasn't funny, except one I liked. And the story wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either. I will say it's not the worst out of the Cars movies, just wait for the sequel. But the characters are okay, and I will say the ending was a nice heartwarming one, where Lightning McQueen pushes the king at the end of the race. That was nice. But yeah, I find it okay. I know the franchise sold a lot of toys and gotten popular the same way Toy Story did. All in all, definitely one of the lower Pixar films. I'm gonna put in the okay category. It's not terrible, it's underwhelming. Ratatouille. Here we go. Definitely a great Pixar movie, and way better than Cars. And while I liked it when I saw it at age 12, and like The Incredibles, it did change when I watched it the second time. I think I like it more than The Incredibles. Changed my mind. So, what do I like about it? The main character gets more focus, and he is a good cooker by controlling Linguini. Talk about a rat doing that. And while some of the characters are okay, there's two I like. Colette, who's a good chef, then Linguini, and the critic, Anton Ego, which he's the best character in the entire movie. The voice, the way he's designed, the dialogue, and even the ending, which I'll talk about that in a second. Another great idea is the chef who started the restaurant that died actually comes to Remy's imagination, which that's a great one. The animation is amazing. Look at those shots of France. It's like something out of a painting. But the best part in the movie has gotta be the ending. I won't give it away, but the words being said is thought-provoking. Not just critics, but people wanting to judge something. Despite some flaws in the movie, Ratatouille has gotta be in my top 10 favorite Pixar movies. I'm gonna put it in the great category. It's almost amazing, but not quite. WALL-E. It's enjoyable. Yeah, it's not my favorite Pixar movie, but I can understand it ranked higher in the Pixar movies, and being the second Pixar movie to get a National Film Registry, but there are some flaws. I think the second half of the movie is not strong. I already know what the lesson is. Plus, the world inside the ship is not interesting. And while I love tech stuff, it's just not fascinating to see. There are a few good highlights, especially the first half. I just think the first half is much more entertaining because of the two robots getting along with little to no dialogue, with quiet moments and a heavy atmosphere. The animation is still good, and the movie is smart enough and has creativity. I just wish the movie was an unbelievable film if it had a tone after it. But it's enjoyable. That's what I describe the movie. I'm gonna put it in the good category. I can't go higher for this movie. Up. I have a history with this movie. When it came out in 2009, I was getting burned out on Pixar, so I didn't see the movie right away. Then I finally watched it for 3 years, and yeah, it's amazing. It's funny, it's emotional, the animation is bright and colorful, the story is easy to follow, the drama hits out of the park, the characters are memorable, and even a surreal idea where Carl takes off with a bunch of balloons tied to his house. And while the criticism is less, everything else is genuine. And I agree with everybody else, the best part in the movie is the first 10 minutes with Carl getting along with his wife and passing away. And while it's almost perfect, it's not quite my favorite Pixar movie. I'm definitely putting it in the amazing category, but lower than the others. Toy Story 3. This movie came out right when I got out of elementary school. Great timing, I guess. Unlike Up, where I missed it when it came out, I did see this one when it came out, and yeah, it's a pretty good Toy Story movie. However, it's not at the top of the first 2 movies. There are criticisms of the movie, aside that this movie could have been at the end of the trilogy. Just wait. I did find the daycare a bit unpleasant, but either way, I wanted to see the characters we know and trying to get out of the daycare. There are good characters like Lotso, and I did find Ken pretty hilarious. I will say, it is the darkest and intense moment out of the Toy Story movies. Now, the ending is a pretty good conclusion for Andy, and no, I didn't cry at that scene, but it was very heartwarming. But I just wish this was the conclusion, but Pixar decided to make more. It does belong in the 3rd place of Toy Story movies. I'm gonna put it in the low grade category. Cars 2. Yeah, this is the worst Cars film. Not only that, but it's the worst Pixar film. No question about it. And while I wasn't the biggest fan of the first Cars movie, this one got even worse. The plot is convoluted, the message is confusing, and the spy stuff is out of nowhere. I know the first one didn't have that, it was all about racing. Where did the spy stuff come from? Also, Mater is the focus of the movie, not Lightning McQueen. Okay, that gave Mater too much of a focus since he feels like the protagonist in this movie. Either way, it's still a dud from Pixar. It is impressive that this is the only Pixar movie to give a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, but yeah, it's the worst Cars movie and the worst Pixar movie. I'm gonna put it in the mediocre category. I can't put it in the bad category because it's not super insulting. Brave. Okay, it's better than the last Pixar film, but that doesn't mean it's good. I watched this movie back in high school and it was alright. And after rewatching it again, it still hasn't changed. I'll start with the good stuff first. I will give credit to this movie for having the mother-daughter relationship, mainly because mothers in Disney movies barely appeared. Some of the animation looks really good, especially these shots in Scotland. And Merida has a really cool design, with all the wavy hair locks. Also, the 3rd act is a good part in the movie, talking about peace and logic for her mother trying to survive and possess back to human. Now, to the criticisms. I don't like that the movie is unoriginal, trying to be like any of the Disney princess ones, and even Brother Bear. Yeah, right. Merida is not that interesting. She could have been cool the same way Katniss Everdeen is, but she isn't. Same with the witch. She's just a modern day witch. Nothing special. Also, it's really rushed. Yeah, the pacing in the movie is too fast. But yeah, it doesn't have much focus. It's still not good, but it's still not bad. I'm gonna put in the low okay category because there are some things I give credit. Monsters University, a prequel to Monsters Inc. Yeah, did they really need a prequel how Mike and Sully met at college? I guess for some, but it wasn't needed. Again, not the worst, but it's not great either. I know this movie is like an 80s college movies, but I get the point. But yeah, the characters, story, and humor didn't grab me. The animation, while colorful, is not groundbreaking either. The only good thing in the movie is the ending. I won't give it away, but the message tells about you don't need to follow the traditional path for anyone. But yeah, the message is the best part in the movie. But other than that, it's not good. I'm gonna put it in the okay category, but lower than Brave, since at least Brave is a bit original. Inside Out. Okay, this is the best part. This is my favorite Pixar movie. Before that, I would have said Toy Story 1 and 2, but no. Inside Out is hands down my favorite. I really want to talk about this movie so much, but I'll try to do it really quick. Everything in the movie is just phenomenal. The story, the characters, the animation, the writing, the layout, and even the idea of emotions in your head. Well, nothing new it takes to make it more dramatic. It is so emotional in the movie. In fact, it's about the importance of sadness, and that is just so brilliant. Not only that it's my favorite Pixar movie, but it's one of my favorite movies. The only nitpick for the movie is that it could have been a little funnier, but I leave that part alone because it balanced out incredibly well throughout the movie. And since the sequel's out, I can't wait to see it. Easily the most perfect Pixar movie. Definitely ranking high in the amazing category. You deserve it. The Good Dinosaur. I watched on Disney Plus years ago. It's okay. Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna be good, no pun intended, but it's not the worst Pixar movie. Also, this movie had production trouble before then, and it does show. This is an odd idea, but it's not crazy. The character design is not good. It just feels out of place. Arlo is just whiny and not an interesting character. I'm not blaming the voice actor, he's just not good. There are weird moments like these dinosaurs are cowboys and they saddle the way they move. Yeah, a bit odd. There are some good things in the movie. I like that the cave boy acts like a dog, it's a funny idea. The animation, while mixed on the character design, the backgrounds in the movie are unbelievable. It could have easily been the best looking Pixar movie, but it's not quite close. The Good Dinosaur is definitely one of the lower ones, but it's not terrible. But yeah, I'm thinking about putting it in the lower okay. It's not even close putting it to mediocre. Finding Dory. This movie may seem like a pointless sequel, but I actually find it charming, funny, and touching. The only criticism of the movie is the first 10 minutes. It's very rushed and it has repeats. Yeah, I didn't like that. But everything else does get a lot better. While Finding Nemo is a better movie, it does have some great stuff in it. The visuals are great, the new characters are great. I like they used the aquarium as a new location. I actually did like the climax, I'm not gonna lie. It is silly and goofy with the song they pick, but I can't help smile with a big grin on my face. It's enjoyably odd. However, the best part in the movie, aside from those I mentioned, is the main threat in the movie is on anxiety. I'm glad Dory is having trouble, and you see she's about to fall apart. I've seen some people rank Finding Dory in one of the lower Pixar movie ranks, but I can't go that far. This is going to be a hard one to rank. I'm thinking about putting it in the gray category, but right below The Incredibles. Cars 3. Okay, as much as I'm not a fan of this series, this one took me by surprise. And it's actually the best out of the Cars movies. It focuses on racing this time, and Lightning McQueen gives it more development. And while it's not original, there are some things I liked. Lightning McQueen grew more since the first one, and doing some training and learning from others. That's nice that he changed, unlike the first one where he was full of himself. Here, he was more experienced. Some of the new characters were okay, and the ending was a nice change up. But aside from the best Cars movie, it's nothing mind-blowing, but at least I can watch it. I'm gonna put it in the high okay category. I was so close for a good, but the story takes it down a notch. Coco. another fantastic Pixar movie. When the trailer was shown, I got pretty excited for something different. And yeah, it hasn't changed since it came out in 2017. That year wasn't that good for animated films, but Coco was the standout. I've seen Coco 3 times and it's still amazing. The animation, the characters, the imagination, the music, it's funny, it's heartwarming. Man, this movie is awesome. Quick side note, there was another movie that came out before Coco called The Book of Life, and I remember that one. It's not as memorable as Coco, and it's not a total ripoff. I'm glad this movie focused on Day of the Dead holiday and even Mexican culture. That's a great take for Pixar. The music is something rare by Pixar, and yeah, the song Remember Me is fantastic. The setup in the story I was not going to like in the movie for the family forbidding music, but Miguel's entire family are actually likable. Another thing that the movie has is the surprise villain. Yeah, the one that Disney has been doing. However, it actually works in the movie because it has to work into the story. The ending where Miguel sings a song to Coco is just heartwarming. I was actually close to getting teary-eyed in the movie, though Inside Out got me cried. The only nitpick in the movie is when Miguel and Hector performing in front of the crowd. It didn't need to happen, but they needed an extra song, I guess. But either way, I think this movie is amazing. It definitely belongs in that category. Incredibles 2. So, a big hot take. I actually like this movie over the first one. I know, it's an unpopular opinion, but I think it's more enjoyable. It even has more focus on all the family. Mr. Incredible has a focus on his kids, and Mrs. Incredible uses her Elastigirl to work on missions. But besides the focus, it's more relatable, more funny. No, seriously, it's funny. With Jack fighting a raccoon, it's more creative with the action sequences with Elastigirl. The animation is more visually stunning, and even new superhero characters. Man, there's so many great stuff in the sequel. However, there is one problem with the movie, and that is the villain. While the Scream Slayer has a great name, the villain itself sucks, and it's a surprise villain. Ugh, I hate those. And yeah, that part that didn't work, that the first Incredibles did better with Syndrome, and he was more funny. But yeah, I like Incredibles 2 more than the first one. I actually think it's solid. I'm gonna put it in the gray category, even more than Finding Nemo and The Incredibles. Toy Story 4. So, when this movie got announced, I feel like this didn't need to exist. But, I had to watch it because it's Toy Story. After watching it, it was good. Okay, I can't put it in the okay or mediocre because there are some things I liked. The animation looks great, of course. I like that Bo Peep returned for the movie since she was absent in the last one. The new characters were enjoyable a bit, and the beginning and the ending are the strongest parts in the movie. Not just the ending with Woody's. I mean, Gabby Gabby 2, where she helps with the lost child. It's a nice, short, simple scene. However, there are downsides with this movie. I feel like Buzz pushing a button of the running joke was not funny. Some of the side characters had lack of screen time, and some of the humor were just not funny. It's nowhere near as the first 3 with the great humor it had, but yeah, this is my least favorite out of the Toy Story movies. It's got some good message, good characters, and got some good scenes, but it's not super strong as some of the other ones, and it had to exist. When we get to Toy Story 5, we'll see how that ranks up. I'm gonna put 4 in the good category, and that's where it belongs. Onward. This movie came out right before the pandemic hit, so they moved it to Disney Plus a month later. My thoughts on Onward? It's good. Okay, this is a tough one to say because the beginning starts off not good, and then it gets better towards the ending. In fact, the climax is actually the best part, and even the story. It is emotional because Ian and Barley's father died and they're trying to make him come alive. Plus, that scene where Barley tells Ian what happened to the father, it's a great scene. Some of the humor are pretty funny, like the Manticore turning into a Chuck E. Cheese location. However, the criticisms are pretty major, especially the beginning. The world is not interesting and some of the jokes weren't that funny. but thankfully it does get better when the boys started the quest. Like I said, the climax has a moral about the consequences to choices, and I like that. But yeah, I did find the movie good up until the end. I'm gonna put it in the good category right behind Toy Story 4. Soul. So, as you guys know, one of my earliest videos on the channel was my review of Soul, and my opinions of the movie hasn't changed since I did the review. The characters are likable, the voice acting is great, the world looks amazing, and even the animation. I still stand by the animation is the best looking that Pixar has done, plus the afterworld is so simple. They use a combination of 2D and 3D. Love that design. Also, this has to be the most matured Pixar movie. I don't know if kids will like it, but adults are going to love it. There are a couple nitpicks in the movie, and I still stand by what I said in the review. It could have been a little funnier during the real world with Joe in 22. Also, the ending, which I can't give it away, I thought Joe was going to do something. The route he was going to do. But yeah, it didn't destroy the movie. Everything else in the movie is amazing. Definitely in my top 5 favorite Pixar movies. Definitely putting the movie in that category. Luca. Finally, a movie I didn't do a review on my channel, but here it is, talking about Luca. So, when I first saw it, I was actually excited for the movie. And while it doesn't seem big, it's a smaller story, and I have to say, the movie is delightful. It does remind me of the Studio Ghibli movies. It's a small-scale movie with a slice of life. Plus, it's funny, charming, the characters are likable, and even the idea sounds great, where Luca and Alberto turn into sea creatures and then turn back to human. There's so many great scenes, like Luca trying to win the competition, and even the fantasy sequence of Luca riding a scooter in the sky. But yeah, I find this movie very charming. The only nitpick in the movie is the first 5 minutes in the underwater stuff and the parents telling him not to go to land. But aside from that, it's still really good and actually pretty underrated. It's a shame it didn't get attention, but people will discover it later on. I'm gonna put Luca in the great category because I don't think it's higher than the other ones. Turning Red. So this one also went to Disney Plus. Yeah, it should have went to theaters. Out of all the Disney anime movies for 2022, this is the best one. Although it's not perfect, there are a few problems with it. I really like the idea of the main character turning into a panda when she gets emotional. The animation is pretty good, though the style is hit and miss, but it's a little distracting, but the style at the end is fantastic. There are some problems with the movie. Again, the style of the movie can be a little distracting. Also, the characters have movements the way they move. What is this, Hotel Transylvania? Speaking of characters, well, some are okay. May's mother was way too dumb. I understand why May's mother giving a connection to her daughter, but it was too much. Anyways, aside from that, the best part in the movie is the third act, and that is Chef's Kiss. I've never seen a moment where it was funny, emotional, and very powerful. So yeah, I can't say I'm mixed on this movie. It's still very good. So where would I rank it? I have to put it in the high good category, but maybe it'll change when I watch again, but I'll leave it there. Lightyear. Yeah, this movie is underwhelming. I will admit, I was ready for a Lightyear movie where it's not Toy Story related, but after watching the movie, I was very underwhelmed by it. Some of the parts in the movie were okay. The characters, the time traveling stuff, the animation, it was just okay. Also, it didn't bother me that Chris Evans voiced Lightyear. I think he sounded good. Also, Socks was the best character in the movie, and he actually got me some laughs. Plus, I didn't find the joke that funny. And the planet in the movie is so boring to look, and it wasn't visually interesting. I mentioned in the Strange World review, but that world in that movie was more imaginative and looked cool than the planet in Lightyear. But yeah, the planet stuff wasn't good, the humor wasn't good, and probably the biggest problem in the movie is Emperor Zurg in the last third act. I won't give it away, but it ruined the entire movie. But yeah, it's not the worst, but it's definitely one of the bottom of Pixar movies. Lightyear was disappointing. Well, it had okay bits here and there. I'm gonna put it in the okay category, but way low. Elemental. So, when this got announced, I was really excited. It was giving me Avatar: The Last Airbender mixed with Inside Out and Zootopia. After watching it, it's a letdown. There are some crazy stuffs in the movie, like the fire people stuff. That was really cool. But other than that, Elemental was just standard. The characters, the settings, the romance, the story, and even the humor. I will say it's a bit better than Lightyear in terms of ideas. I will say it did found an audience over time, which I'm happy it's doing that. But yeah, not one of the best. I'm gonna put it in the okay category, but higher than Lightyear. And that's all my ranking of every Pixar movies. I know it had 27 movies, and it's not a lot compared to Disney, but I like doing my ranks on it. That is all for the video. I will do another ranking video next year, but I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!